Hello guys, SquidLord here, and today I am with you, Hello guys, SquidLord here, and today I am here to show you some Force of Will deck builds, or a deck build. I decided, since my buddy Ghosty is ramming Force of Will down my throat like nobody's business, to do some deck builds. This deck build is over the ISIS deck. Not ISIS, you know, the Alu Akbar kind of people, but the ISIS as in this chickadee. She's gonna be your J ruler. This is going to be a mainly burn deck. It works pretty good in terms of gameplay. I've played it against various different other decks. You can board wipe kind of often. You mainly save up your board wipes to just kill their board once and then constantly burn your opponent for game. She's got Divinity 10. She's got 2 red and 2 colorless for a judgment. She's got Energize, that's a red. Now on her flip face, her flip side is Isis, the 100 Weapon Master. She has a Divinity 10. She's got First Strike, making her really good in terms of attacking and, you know, her being attacked. She's got 3 pay effects. 1 pay a fire, and this card deals 200 damage to target J Resonator. Pay a fire. This card gains precision until the end of the turn, which is target attack for those of you that are older players like me. She's got pay 2 fire. This card gains barrier until the end of the turn. This is really good because this makes it so that she can't be targeted by your opponent's abilities and spells. So she's untouchable from your opponent unless they mass board wipe you or do a mass effect. That's about it. She's got 1400 attack, 800 defense, but since she's got First Strike, she's hitting first. So if you attack with her and your opponent blocks with like a 1414 or 1400 attack, 1400 defense monster, you're gonna kill their thing first because your thing deals damage first. So that makes her really good. You mainly deactivate turn 2. You can deactivate turn 2 with one of the stones that you have. And it just makes it really easy to go through and play her. Onto the main deck. You play Sylvia, the Slave Girl, at 2. She's a really good 1-drop, but you mainly save up so that you can awaken her. She's got 400 attack, 400 defense. She's a 1-drop. When you awaken her, which her awakening cost is 2 fire and 5 colorless, when this card enters the battle, or when this card enters the field, it deals 2000 damage to each J Resonator your opponent controls. Then put 16 +100/+100 counters on her. This card gains flying, First Strike, or flying, swiftness, precision, and pierce as long as there is a +100/+100 counter on her. So she becomes a 20,000. I didn't realize she gained 16 +1/+1 counters. Or no. I'm reading that wrong. It did my math wrong on that part. So she becomes a 2000. She becomes a 2000. So that's pretty good. Main issue is surviving that long with that amount of mana or not mana, will, to pay that off. That is the issue. That's why I dropped her from 3 to 2, because I had been running her at 3, but then I just kind of was like, I need to beef her up some, or beef it down a little. Ruins Beneath the Sand. Now, this card is going to be your go-to card. Ruins Beneath the Sand is amazing because, for one, it's a 2-drop, 2 fire. Also, at the end of your turn, this card deals 200 damage to your opponent or resonator. This effect will constantly keep your opponent on their toes, because no matter what, they know you're going to burn something for 200, either it be themselves or a resonator. Now, if you have 4 more runes revealed, the damage is increased to 400 instead. This stacks ridiculously because I'm running it at 4, because when I was playing against Ghosty, every time I would get into this card and play it out, I was winning the game because I was constantly burning him, dealing constant 200 damage to him, and all my other cards that I have in my hand are dealing damage to his resonators, so he's got nothing to swing with, and I'm just constantly burning him. I can kill him turn 4 if I get pretty good draws. So Ruins Beneath the Sand is a great card for this deck because you play like 2 of it. If you get 3 of it out, your opponent's just kind of like, oh, okay, what are you killing now? A good little 1-drop that I decided to tech in this deck is Sandworm. Now there's probably better 1-drops you can throw in that, you know, synergize with the deck more and everything, but Sandworm is a great starter to throw in this deck. It's a 1 fire drop, it's got 300 attack, 400 defense, it's got swiftness, and it can't be attacked. So you turn 1 this guy and just swing 300, and your opponent can't really do anything except block it, but that they have to wait another turn. This guy is really good to just start off turn 1, turn 2, whenever the game's really slow. Thunder or Heaven Thundering Strike. This is a pretty good spell. You run it at 4. It's got a fire and a colorless. It's a quick cast, which means you can cast it on either player's turn during any of the phases. This card cannot be cancelled if you control Xian. Well, we don't control Xian, so it can be cancelled. But this card deals 600 damage to target J Resonator, and if this card was awakened, it deals 600 damage up to a second target J Resonator. The awakening cost is just a fire and 2 colorless. It's really good because you can just awaken it up really easily. This card does come in handy when you're just trying to pick and choose, you know, damage you're going to deal to people. Other than that, it is not really useful in terms of trying to burn your opponent because it can't. Eruption, it's another great board wipe that you have access to. This card deals 800 damage to each J Resonator, and it's 2 fire and a colorless. This was initially at 3 when I started playing the deck, but I bumped it up to 4 because one of your runes that you run is the exact same card, or not the exact same card, but has nearly the same effect, has the exact same effect, except it deals 800 damage to all your opponent's resonators. And if you just, you know, happen to pull into this and you have no resonators, which is mostly what happens in this game, is because you pull this and you have no resonators, you just drop that and deal damage to everything without reckless abandon. This does help clear boards really fast. Anubis, the administrator of the hounds. She's pretty good in terms of late game. Early game, she sucks to be in hand. She's 5 fire and 3 colorless. The highest cost thing in this whole deck. And you may pay 1 less for each fire rune revealed in your rune area. So if you have 3 runes revealed, you're paying only the 5 fire. That's about the only reduction you can get. If this card would be put, if a card would be put from your opponent's graveyard from anywhere, remove it from the game instead. Enter, this card deals 1500 damage divided as you choose amongst any number of target resonators. She's good late game because she stops everything from hitting the graveyard. She exiles everything. So that makes it really really difficult for everybody to retrieve that kind of stuff. Burial Rites. It's another great 1-drop card. This is a quick cast. 1 fire. Says remove all resonators from your opponent's graveyards from the game. If it was 5 or more cards that were removed this way, search your deck for a card named Anubis, Administrator of the Hounds, reveal it and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Okay. This is a great card, regardless of whether or not it searches, because it's a way to stop decks that are trying to set up stuff for the discard pile. And it's a 1-drop. Now, you can run, dark with this and run, what is it? The evil elemental spell that's like a 1-drop quick cast that says remove every card from your opponent's discard pile to the remove from game pile, cannot be chased. Well, this is good because it's a mono red deck and this is the only graveyard removal. Graveyard discard pile. I'm going to banish pile. Those are all the same terminology. Exile and remove from game are the same terminology. Really good card. Burnt Cooking is another really good card. Because, for one, it's adorable. Because Sylvia's cooking. 2, it's a 1-drop quick cast. And it says target J Resonator gains plus 400, neg 400 until the end of the turn. If it's a Dragonoid, it gains plus 400 instead. Put 3 strength counters on your J ruler. This is really good because it's a quick way to say, oh hey, I'm gonna, pay 1, give your opponent's, Resonator plus 400, neg 400 until the end of the turn, And you can do that to the J ruler too, if it's got weak enough defense. And then you also get 3 strength counters out of it, which you use strength counters for another one of your spells to awaken it. And I like to make jokes about it, but the strength counters do help late game, early game. Heaven Sundering Dragon Palm. This is the spell that I was talking about that requires you to use your strength counters for. It's a 1-drop quick cast that says choose 1. If this card was awakened, you may choose up to 3 instead. Destroy target dragon, which would help if you're going against somebody that's if you're going against somebody that uses dragons. Or this card deals 500 damage to target resonator, or this card deals 400 damage to your opponent. Now, this is really good because you can deal damage to your opponent and deal damage to a resonator they got. And to awaken it, you remove 5 strength counters from your J ruler. This is really easy because, as you saw, burnt cooking itself gives 3 strength counters to your J ruler. There's also a stone in here that gives 2 strength counters to your J ruler when it enters, so that's fine. Sunter the Sand Giant. And now, this guy, he's iffy. I decided to drop him from 4 to 2 because he shows up in your hand a lot. I had to drop Anubis and Sunter a lot because there's just a whole hell of a lot that you can't really do with them when they're in your hand till late game. Whenever this card, he's 5 fire, he's 1500 attack, 1500 defense, and he says, whenever this card is dealt damage, you may search your deck for a sand resonator of total cost of 3 or less and put it into the field, then shuffle your deck. It's really good because some of your cards you can just straight up deal damage to him and get a free resonator. Also, if you have 3 fire runes revealed, which is all of your runes, or all your runes are fire, so if you have 3 runes revealed, he'll enter and deal 800 damage to each resonator, including himself. So he enters in dealing damage to himself, so you get a resonator off for free. Really good card. It is just, you know, very situational, and he helps more in the late game kind of thing where you have a lot of will open. Sand Soldier. He's a really good card. He's a 2-drop, a fire and a colorless. He's got 800 attack, 600 defense. Now you're saying those are really good stats for a 2-drop. Well, at the end of the battle, if this card attacked or blocked, he dies. Now, if you have 3 runes revealed, this card gets plus 400, plus 400. He gets really big and beefy, but there's just not a whole lot you can do with him. I may try to find more sand resonators to look into throwing in exchange for him, but other than that, he's the biggest, beefiest thing you can really get. Next up we have Sand Dragon. He's not a sand resonator, sadly. He is a dragon. It's very sad because he could be dragon / sand resonator, but he's not. Force of will. What are you doing? You see this boy? He's sand that's given life in the shape of a dragon. You could have just added sand to his resonator, you know, type, and it would have been fine. But no. He's 3 cost, 2 fire, 1 colorless, 1000 attack, 1000 defense. Now you're saying, oh, those are another good stats. Well, he's got flying, and whenever this card is dealt damage, destroy it. He's a glass cannon. Whenever a J ruler or rune you control deals damage to your opponent, though, put this card from your graveyard to your hand. He's a recursion, which is really nice. Now, your runes, there's only 1 rune that's actually viable in order to deal damage to your opponent. Other than that, you have to hope that your J ruler hits your opponent, which is fine, but you know, that's that. You have Spiral Chaos, which is your last spell for this deck. It is a 5 cost. It's got 2 fire, 3 colorless. But you may pay 3 less to play this card if your J ruler is Isis or Isis the 100 Weapon Master. So this card is a 2-drop. And this card says, This card deals 1000 damage to target resonator. Really good. If this card would be dealt more if this card would deal more damage to that resonator than its defense, this card deals the rest of the damage to that resonator's controller. So you inflict damage to your opponent via this spell. Now, this is really good. I've killed Ghosty so many times with this spell because it's a 2-drop. And you just boop, drop it, inflict damage over a resonator's defense. Because you just pick their smallest thing and you just kill it. Oof, you took 800 damage. Oh, by the way, you're gonna, kill everything else on your board. On top of, swinging at your face. Oh, in phase. Burn you face. Gets really ridiculous. Now, I don't know if this will trigger this. I mean, it's technically a master rune, but I don't know if that triggers for that. So, I run Sand Dragon at 3, I run Spiral Chaos at 3. I would bump it up to 4, but the thing is that there's a lot of times where you just can't really deal damage to a resonator, so it just kind of sits in hand. So it's a very situational card, but it comes up more often than not, and you just kind of abuse it. On to your stones. Okay, so you have 4 Dragonor. Dragonor says, whenever treat this card as a fire magic stone. Alright, standard magic stone shenanigans. Tap, produce a fire. Standard. When this card enters the field, put 2 strength counters on your J ruler. This is your magic stone that will beef up your J ruler, so that you can use your Heaven Sundering Dragon Palm spell. Another good spell is the Magic Stone of Dueling. Tap, produce a fire. Tap, produce 2 fire, and spend it only to play activate abilities for your J ruler that you control. You can use this, I do believe so, to pay for your judgment. And if that's true, then you can judgment your J ruler turn 2, which is really good. But you mainly use this after you've judgmented to pay for her abilities, because you run 4 of this stone, and if you happen to hit all 4 of it, you can tap and produce 8 will that you can use for her activate abilities. Now that's only if you have nothing else, nothing better in your hand to cast to deal damage to, but that's fine. The next stone is the Magic Stone of Hermit. Tap, produce a fire. Tap, banish this card. Target dragon gains swiftness until the end of the turn. You only run this at 2 because it's very situational, and the only time you can actually use its effect is to give Sand Dragon swiftness. Now, I may think of throwing in more dragons, changing up the build a little to see what other sand resonators there are. But as far as I know, right now this is the best kind of one-way street build for this. I know there's a lot of other Isis cards that you can throw in that, like, whenever a spell would deal damage, it deals 200 more damage or 100 more damage. Or whenever a resonator's dealt damage, it takes an extra 100 or 200 more damage. Those are good cards, but I feel like I want to be more aggressive in terms of attacking with this build, so I may change it up some so that it's more attack heavy, because right now the only thing that you really attack with is your J ruler. You attack with your J ruler, you attack with Sandworm, and you kind of use everyone else to block with. Except Sunder. And Anubis. But I've only had Sunder come out on board like once. Maybe twice. Now we're going into the rune stack. You have one giant sandstorm. It's a Divinity 3. And it says this card deals 800 damage to each resonator your opponent controls. This is mainly just one more cost for a eruption, and it deals damage to your opponent's resonators and not every resonator, every J resonator. So it's okay. Explosion. This is a nice defensive tactic. It's a 1-cost quick cast rune that says this card deals 700 damage to target attacking or blocking resonator. It's really good in terms of, oh, I'm going to swing. Oh, my opponent is actually going to block with something that's going to live through my J ruler's, you know, attack. Quick cast this, inflict the 700 damage to it, and then it'll possibly kill it. Whirlwind Conflagration. This Master Rune is amazing. Now, you have to wait till there's enough targets on board for it to get really good, but it can be extremely good. It is a 5-cost. Now, it says, it's got 2 fire, 3 colorless, Divinity 2. It says, you may play this card if only you control, if only your J ruler is Isis, essentially. Target up to 6 players and or J resonators. This card deals 200 damage to the first target, 400 to the second, 600 to the third, 800 to the fourth, 1000 to the fifth, and the sixth will take 1200 damage. Now, there's a lot of points in times where you have to sit here and be like, okay, I need one more thing out on board. Or a lot of the times you'll have to target your J ruler for the first target and build up to dealing your opponent 1200 damage, which is a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage. How about a little more? No, that's a lot of damage.
To just take to your face. And this does come up quite often. It's good if you're trying to play against multiple people. It's good if you're trying to play one-on-one. It's just a lot harder to pull off on one-on-ones. Poison Stinger. This card is amazing. I would consider running it in the main deck too. This card, it's a 1-drop quick cast rune that says this card deals 200 damage to target resonator. If that resonator would be dealt damage this turn, it is dealt double that much instead. This thing kills beef sticks. It kills anything. You hit something with that at the start of your turn or at the end of your opponent's turn and you're like, okay, I got some other stuff I can play on their turn. Is dead. Is dead. Because all the damage dealing cards you have in this deck deal at least 200 damage. And that's only on your turn. If you're dealing damage on your opponent's turn, you're dealing 500 damage, 400 damage, 600 damage, you know. And if it's doubled, that's, you know, 1000 damage easy. So that's really going to kill anything. Sandstorm. This is a really good card. It's a really good staple card to throw regardless. Because it's 1 fire, but you pay 1 fire less to play it from your rune area. So it's a free rune. And it deals 200 damage to each resonator your opponent controls. So it deals 200 damage to everything. It's a free rune. It's a free rune to be played because if it's in your rune stack, it's completely zero cost. So everyone usually runs 1 copy of Sandstorm in their rune deck. If not, you're running, you know, better cards. But this is your rune stack, basically. You can run Fires of the Demon King. I took it out because it was just a pain. It's a 1-drop that's got 0 attack, 0 defense, or 100 defense. It says whenever this card's put into the graveyard from the field, it deals 600 damage to target resonator. The thing is that most of the time whenever this thing would die, it would die when there's nothing on board. So I figured drop this, throw in Sandworm, and cut my losses. Because attacking for 300 turn 1 is a lot better than burning something that's not there for 600. So what do you think of my Isis deck build? It's pretty modified to play. I may try to change it up a little bit so that it's a little bit better. But right now, I think this is a pretty good deck build. It's pretty solid. Because I've played against Ghosty's Infinite Punch deck with this. I've played against Ghosty's Hanzo deck, which Mythic Hanzo is ridiculous because you just sit there 3 cost, bring out a 6 cost or more, and ramp stones ridiculously. And it puts up a pretty good fight against that. It also goes really swell against discard decks, surprisingly, because for some reason you just really doesn't get hurt a whole lot from discard decks. So if you like this deck build or have any suggestions of what to throw into the deck and maybe want to try, put it down in the comments below. I'll see, test it out, figure it out. Who knows? It may be better. Also, check in the link in the description below for the Facebook page that I have. There's also my Mixer, my Twitter down there. You know, go check those out. If you like it, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. The Mixer, go over there, follow there. I'll stream the Mixer once every now and then on weekends. I'm trying to come up with a more mandated schedule for that, but right now it's just really hectic with everything going on. So I tend to upload on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometime during the weekend. As always, guys, keep up the shenanigans. I'll see you guys in the next video.